Remember when Simon Peter is going on the water toward Jesus Christ, and he says, "Lord, command me to go under the water, and I will do so. I will do whatever you ask. I have the faith to do so." And he does it. And Jesus commands him to come under the water and to, come to me, those who are heavy laden, right? And I will give you rest. It's really something to move in faith, because in many ways you are just walking on water. It's kind of what it feels like sometimes when things are very uncertain and all you have is your faith. Kind of like Bon Jovi says, "Oh, we're halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer." That's really what it is a lot of the time. But something that I think many people get wrong when it comes to the idea of luck is how it can be attributed to faith. You can get so lucky sometimes simply by the fact that you have faith. And it's actually a law in the 48 Laws of Power to avoid the unlucky, right? And there's a reason for that. Because fear, energy itself is contagious, but especially fear. Fear can be very contagious. But also faith can be very contagious. I mean, think about all the people that you've known in your life that have just shown immense faith, even in the worst of times. Some of those people out there that are dealing with the most crap, they're dealing with the most incessant, wicked, just annoying kind of people. And yet they still have faith in the good, the true, and the beautiful. I mean, you have to really have a sense of faith in life itself to not become jaded like that, like a lot of people do anyway. Because a lot of people become jaded through time. They do have this black pill mentality, and what people, if you don't know what black pill is, it's basically just a nihilistic worldview. And it's understandable, it can be very attractive to many different kinds of people. Because a lot of the times people get nihilistic because of their unrealized dreams. They get nihilistic because they haven't seen the fruits of their labor really made manifest in their life, and so they don't know how to have faith again. They don't know how to live with faith. Because if you've seen malevolence, if you've seen true horror, it's hard to bounce back from that sometimes, and it's difficult to predict how exactly the best way to respond to this malevolence can be, because it's not easy to see this. And it's one thing to have obstacles in the way, or to try to have people try to silence you, but it's another thing entirely because people trying to silence you is a form of malevolence in some way. But it's not the kind of malevolence that has had, let's say, if they're making it out to seem like they're this great person and they're this, fantastic person, they want to see the best for you, and then they rug pull you, or they completely chastise you or ostracize you. It's not a good feeling to encounter that kind of stuff. Because when you do encounter it, it's a very challenging thing to your psyche. And your morals are tested. And your faith in humanity is tested. And your faith in God is tested. And especially if you don't believe in God, or you have faith in God and His goodness and His justice, oh man, that's even worse, and I know what that's like. I remember being at rock bottom. For me, what was rock bottom was when I realized that I had to step away from my family. I had to go no contact with my family. Because at the time, I was deep into debt, like all different kinds of debt. And even though I had an okay job, I had a secure job, it still wasn't the best job for me at the time. I wasn't happy with it. Yeah, I was happy with what I was doing. I wasn't happy really with the environment. And my friend that I thought was my friend, he was trying to, literally steal my personality. You know how narcissists do that? Narcissists will use information as bullets against you, and they will completely degrade you and demoralize you while pretending like they're not. Yeah, that's what this guy that I thought was my friend, my best friend at the time, was doing. And really the straw that broke the camel's back was when I realized I had to go no contact with my family. But it's interesting. From that moment on, I just chose to be lucky. I just chose that, from here on out, I'm going to be lucky. Because that's the only way I'm going to get through this. Like, that's what I thought anyway. And I've still adopted a similar mindset because it takes faith to be lucky, to be actually lucky. And Aristotle actually talks quite a bit about luck. And he has a very interesting viewpoint on luck and how the proponents of luck and the propensity that we have toward seeing luck as a means to gain and not a means to be is really something that we ought to consider more. And I think that that's true, because luck is a form of being sometimes. It's not even sometimes. Luck is a form of being more so than it is a frame of what we can get from life. Because anybody that actually knows what they know that they don't know, which is the eternalities of life, then they understand that in order to live a proper life, one has to completely relinquish and accept the preconditions of life as they are, and then adjust accordingly. And it takes courage to do that, but it also takes faith. It takes great faith to do that. And I think that a lot of the times we can get kind of discouraged. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't going our way or things aren't going as planned. It's easy to kind of feel like the universe is against you. But the thing is, it's not really the universe that's against you. It's your programming. It's your thought algorithms. And it's the people that are actually trying to commit this ideological subversion onto you. Because the people that are trying to push this ideological subversion onto you, what they're trying to do is they're trying to warp your reality to fit their narrative. And that's something that you kind of have to accept as a part of life sometimes. You're going to get haters, And the haters, I can get annoyed with some of them. But then I remember how great my life is, despite all of its imperfections. And I remember that this life is temporary. And I remember that I have a great community that I've built that has great people in it. I remember of all the people that I've worked with over 350 people around the world at this point. In my one-on-one mentorships and the Godlike Mastery Initiation Program, I've worked with amazing people. I've gotten to know and network with great people around the world. And then I realize how I wouldn't want to trade this life that I have, me, really me and who I am, for anything, because to do so would be to completely sell your soul. And I'm not about that. I want to make money for sure. I'm not hiding that. I think everybody would like to make money. But I want to make money so that I can give myself the ability to have freedom to do what I want on my own time, and then to give back to the people that maybe like they have the drive, but they need the resources, or they don't have the knowledge. That's what it comes down to, a lot of the times it just takes knowledge. I'm filming this Sunday night. We had the Regal Change Academy group call earlier today. And one thing that really stood out in this group call was just how at least to me, what stood out was how there was this sense of practicality and this wisdom in practicality and simpleness that everybody had. And I think that allowing yourself to live simply is going to catapult yourself into a vessel, or as a vessel of luck, as long as you remain faithful in God. Now, people that don't believe in God, and I don't really say I believe in God, I say I have faith in God. I don't really need to believe in anything, because anybody can believe anything that they want. I mean, you can believe that I don't know why I just thought of this. I thought of those new plant-based meats that you see at the store? It just doesn't make sense, plant-based meat. Really? Like, think about the genetically modified crap that has to go through just to get to that. But anyway, that's just a funny example. I think it's just kind of silly. But, to each their own, I suppose. I say live and let die, not live and let live, right? But anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. So that's kind of an oxymoron. And I think that a lot of the people that are not simple, they're like committed to this lifestyle of oxymoron while not realizing that it's an oxymoron. And, I'm not judging or anything like that. I'm the last person to judge anybody for what exactly they're doing. I may not agree with it, but I'm not going to judge you. I might judge your behavior, but I'm not going to judge who you are as a person. It's not my place. And honestly, I'm more afraid of me judging and it not being the right kind of judgment, and then I get judgment from him, and it's 10 times worse, because when you're chosen, like when you are, and I don't like to say this with a sense of vanity, but at the same time, the Bible does say God's chosen people are a peculiar people, okay? And I've always been a peculiar person to the people around me, but it's been a peculiar in a, like I've had people tell me, you're just so different. You're just so different, but in like a good way. And because I've done some weird things, I've done really weird things. Probably one of the strangest things I've ever done, which in many ways to this day, it's still kind of a mystery to me, and something that I'm learning how to incorporate in my life, was when I first began to follow Christ. It was, actually right before I started to really follow Christ, and I was really searching for God. I was really like, in alchemy, when they say when the search lies heavy on the seeker, that's when the philosopher's stone will be found, right? And what I did was something very strange. I had this sense to start making calligraphy. And so I started, writing calligraphy and put it on actual parchment. And for some reason, at the time, it was like, I just had this sense of spirit. I didn't want to call it God. And I still wasn't close to Jesus just yet. This was, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. And I remember I wrote on the piece of parchment, I said, "The image of Aphrodite alone will heal the sick." And for some reason, that was like a healing event where I got to draw myself closer to God, and to women really as well, like the image of woman. And I actually had a vision. Anybody that's ordered my book, The Book of Oldishness, it just came out, a couple weeks ago. But I talk a lot about my visions that I had in 2020, specifically at the height of the lockdowns. And I go through and I give like a psychoanalyst viewpoint and a philosophical viewpoint of those visions. Well, one of the visions I've had, which is very interesting, I've had many visions with Greek gods. And chapter 34 in my book, I believe, is it's called a gift from the gods, or a staff of chaos. And I meet Zeus there. And, if you get the book, you can go through and you can read it more. But in the vision with Aphrodite, I actually had a vision with Aphrodite, which inspired, this feeling that I had to write on the piece of calligraphy. And I don't know why, but there was these ladies that lived next door to me. And they were very attractive women, very attractive. They were always very polite. And I don't know what exactly was in me. I definitely wasn't like trying to get with them, but I decided to gift it to this group of girls, and it was very fascinating because I didn't even really exactly understand what I was doing, but I just left it, there on their door one day, and it was a gift, and they knew it was from me because I had let them know it was from me. And I just, I made it clear that it wasn't about anything, just I wanted to express it. I just wanted to express something. Because they kind of inspired me in some way too, just the female beauty inspires in a very peculiar kind of way, And so I wrote that down on the piece of parchment, and I like rolled it up like a scroll, and I put like a red ribbon on it. And, put it in an envelope, and it had a little bit of artwork on it. And they called me, and they asked me, like, what exactly does this mean? And I said, well, it's like the image that I put was an image of wholeness. And I said exactly that. I said, this is just an image of wholeness to get closer to God. And, we talked about God for a minute, and we talked about, just whatever it was that was on there. And lo and behold, it was as if all of these hot women, like, started to, for the next few weeks, started to, like, really show me all these big choosing signals. And I thought, now wait a second, what exactly did I just do? Because I was literally just gifting the universe, really. That's what I was doing. And I found that I started to become more lucky in my interactions with women. The more I healed and finalized that healing, really, of the image of woman within my psyche, the more lucky I became with them. And even in life in general. Now, not many people know that story, and this is the first time I've talked about it on YouTube and online in general. But the point of the story is like, you have to create your own luck sometimes. You've got to create your own life, and in doing so, you create your own luck because of your faith. It's because of your faith that this happens. It's because of your faith that this works. And when you give something just to give it, you give without pay, you receive without pay, all of a sudden, things start to work in your favor, even if you think that they're not. And that in of itself inspired, I guess it was 4.5 years ago, but like that in of itself was something that really inspired a lot of different kinds of, it was just like the productivity and the creativeness. Like there were 3 women in that household. Well, it's not like a house, it was more like an apartment, but still, like the women in there, it was very interesting. Each of the women in that house thought that I was referring to them as Aphrodite. Like they thought that, like each one thought I was talking about them, and like I got my inspiration and my creative inspiration from them. And it kind of created this competition amongst them, which I did not intend and I was not trying to do. But it was like this natural, because there's definitely more to the story. I'm not going to tell everything that happened because, well, you guys can imagine. But I didn't do anything like crazy. I didn't do anything, degenerate, but that was definitely one of the strangest things I did. And I don't really know why. Like even to this day, like it was just this form of creative expression where it was like I just had nothing to lose and I had everything to gain, and I wasn't looking to simp or anything like that. It was just I really wanted to express this artistic inspiration and see, like, can I just make art for art's sake? Can I do that? Can I do that in this universe? Is that really possible? Sure enough, it was. And man, you can be so lucky, you don't even know that, like you don't even know what you're creating sometimes. I think this is about done, which is a little, not sad, not disappointing either, just, I have some more things to say, but I really like kind of the act of, smoking the pipe as I'm speaking, because it kind of helps me think a little bit. I like the slowing downness part of this as well, I kind of like just the flow that I can get into, because it kind of, it allows you the time to really just meditate on whatever it is your consciousness is having. Because, I think one thing that I've learned with this is that you can develop a relationship with your unconscious in a way that many people don't. It's like the people who are enlightened, they don't have conscious awareness only. They have a relationship with their unconscious. And I think that's what a lot of luck comes down to, is how great is your relationship to your unconscious mind? How great is your relationship to God himself? Are you able to walk by faith and not by sight, and just step onto the water and be like, God commanded me to do this, so I'm going to have to do it? Like about a month ago or so, I was praying and I had this sense, this, it wasn't God speaking to me directly exactly, because he does do that, but not all the time. Only in like situations where I need to know something, and he'll tell me straightforward. But this was more like a feeling from the Holy Spirit. And I got the sense that God commanded me that I must be a better man. Well, God commanded me to be a better man, so I must be a better man. I have no other option to be, but to be obedient to God in this way, and thank God for it. Because I think that, forms of luck, forms of love, forms of compassion, forms of justice, they're all really one and the same thing to some degree. It's just a substance. And again, in my book, I talk about this. It's the transcendental subject at the end of time. Terence McKenna calls it the transcendental object at the end of time, but I don't think that's correct. I think I know what he's saying, but I think that the semantics there are wrong. Now, who am I to, say that this is right? I don't know. I mean, in my book, I even say that at the beginning. It's like, I don't know if this is immediately right. Like, I don't know talking about this stuff, doing what I'm doing is immediately right. But I do know that if I don't express it, my soul is going to feel as though it's suffering. Because it feels like I can do more, I can be more. But it's kind of always that way, like, it's just that way all the time. And it's like I'm content, and I'm very grateful for everything I have, everything I am, and everything that God has blessed me with. God blesses me so much, even when I think that it's not a blessing. All of the tests, all of the, the obstacles and everything, it's just so beautiful at the end of the day to kind of reflect and in retrospect look back and just think about, wow, what a crazy world this is, right? Like, what a time to be alive too. We live in such a unique time period. Things are moving so fast, changing so fast. And it's just a blessing to be able to have this conversation with you guys. So if you happen to make it to this point in the video, just comment in the comment section, I am lucky, just as a affirmation. Think about this as a form of manifestation, or a step in the direction of manifestation. And I think you'll be fine. But, I'm going to finish this off a little bit and do a little bit more work and call it a night. That's my plans for the rest of the evening. It's a beautiful evening. Now that things have calmed down, it was super windy all day. And it was very loud. Lots of construction people going on. Like, they've got this house next to me. They've been doing construction on it for like 2 years. They've completely reformed it. And I don't know, like, how, I don't know why it's taking so long. But they're working like 10-hour days, 12-hour days, like on one part of the roof, like, just nailing the roof. They've got to nail, like, I don't know. I've never done like hardcore roof work, but I have helped my my family, my grandparents before I had to step away. I did help them, with the cabin and build a cabin a little bit. Man, it did not take 2 years. Like, it took a little time, sure, but like, we would be able to get a roof done within a few days, not freaking months, Ah, there we go. Well, that's my cue, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your evening. And with all that being said, peace be with you all. And until next time.